As always, it is such an honor to be able to do this. I was explaining this to somebody just yesterday as we were talking about kind of the leftovers of COVID and things we've learned during this past season. And there's so many things I really don't even understand still. There's still a lot of fallout and so forth. But one of the things that happened in this is that I somehow fell into this moment and this routine of being able to come into my office once a week, and I'm all alone. I have been every week now for months. Nobody has joined me. So I'm still thinking about doing some things differently with it here in the months to come. But for now, this is kind of what I do. And there's this thing that kind of transforms inside of me where in this moment I feel like I am with you. And so when I say to you, I'm so glad you are here, there's a time warp that's going on because there is nobody here, and we'll turn this on in a few days and it'll go live, and you'll watch as you are now, and so it's all very surreal to me. But in this moment, I can honestly tell you, I am so grateful that we have this time together. I know many of you. I know many of you personally, and you are my friends. There are others of you who are watching. I know that you are, because you become a click or a number or something along the way. And you are really no less important to me. I feel like this is something that we get to do together each week, and I hope it is as good for you as it is for me, really. So let's get started. As I was preparing this week, I was remembering I am part of a baseball family. It's just the way it is. I passed it on to my sons because my dad passed it on to me, the love of the game of baseball. His dad, who I never met, I never met either of my grandfathers, but I know a little bit about him through a few pictures that my dad was able to salvage for me. And there's a picture of my grandfather, my father's father, kind of kneeling down on a baseball field back in the 20s, the 1920s, 100 years ago. Oh my goodness. And he's there in one of those old-fashioned baseball uniforms with one of those baseball mitts that are big and fat and flat and all of that, and his hat's on sideways before there was ever hip-hop. And, it's just like this crazy, crazy thing. But my dad passed on the love of the game to me, and I did to my kids, and my kids have done it to their kids, and it goes on that way. One of the coolest things, it's kind of this little sidebar of baseball that you get to do when you're a player is someday you may have a chance to take an old baseball glove and work life back into it. In the baseball world, we call it restoring a glove. There's certain kinds of things that you can buy, lotions that you can rub into the leather, and it just brings the leather back to its original state. And one of the coolest things is to restore an old baseball glove. I really want to do that again, and I'm kind of in the process right now of trying to locate online or on eBay or something an old glove. I lost my original glove, and I can't go back to that, but I'd like to find a glove that my dad might have played with when he was young, or his dad played when he was a semi-pro baseball player, and take that old leather and begin the process of restoring it back to life again. Such a cool thing. We've been studying now for a few weeks the 23rd Psalm, and the first two verses and the very beginning of the third verse say this: "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul." There's that word. He restores my soul. Restoring, it's the idea of bringing something back to its original state, to make it new again. We throw around the word, normal. I'm not sure that's ever going to fit much in culture anymore, but it certainly does in this idea of restoration. Is taking something back to its normal state. Sheep. Yeah, for the past couple of weeks we've been studying about sheep a little bit. Sheep wander. They wander into danger. They wander away from safety. They get out of balance. They fall. They are scared to death of water. One of the reasons why they are scared to death of water is that if they were to fall over in the water, their wool is so heavy they could fall on their back and just stay there, and as the water comes up, they would drown right in that spot. Belly up, that's where we get the idea. Unable to move, and when you're belly up and unable to move, you are one click away from death. Shepherds, on the other hand, it's their business to find sheep when they take off and wander. Shepherds rescue sheep. They restore sheep when sheep get ill or injured. They nurse them back to health and bring them back to the flock and back to normal so that everything is as it should be. That's what shepherds do. So here's the fascinating thing about this psalm, this 23rd Psalm. David is a shepherd, but he is writing as a sheep. As a matter of fact, he knows David, King David, knows a whole lot about wandering and falling and being unable to move and being so broken and out of balance that death would have been a welcome relief for him. He wrote about that. The Old Testament story of David is, honestly, it's like a primer on the life of a sheep. But there is one story that I think magnifies the line, "He restores my soul," more than any other. The whole story is found in 2 Samuel chapter 11. It would do you well to go back today maybe and read that whole story, maybe a chapter before and a chapter after, just to get the whole picture. But for now, let me tell you this part of the story. David is no longer the little brother shepherd boy that he was when he was first anointed by Samuel. But he is now, at this point in the storyline, he has become the full-blown, powerful king of Israel. And in this part of the story, rather than go off to war with his troops, honestly, where he should have been, he's the king leading them in battle. David chooses to stay home. And one night, go figure, he can't sleep. So he goes out for a walk on the roof of his palace, and looking down, he sees this beautiful woman bathing in the privacy of her own neighboring balcony. We don't know all of the details of this story. I don't think we have to be able to really know what's going on. David, using his position as the king, he sends for this beautiful woman. And like powerful men have done throughout history, and still do to this day, he becomes a sexual predator. It doesn't matter that she is married to one of his valued soldiers who is out fighting on behalf of the kingdom. David sleeps with her. She gets pregnant. Now today, we would call that statutory rape. And because he has the power to do it, it's like he hatches a cover-up plan once he's figured out what he's done. And he calls out to the battlefield and has her husband brought home from battle. And his plan is to get her husband to sleep with her so that it will look like he got her pregnant instead of David. But I'm telling you, this soldier is way too loyal to the king and to his brothers on the battlefield, and so he refuses to even go into the bedroom to be with her. Instead, he sleeps outside her door. In his frustration, the next night, David takes the husband out and gets him drunk, thinking that if I can just get him in a drunken stupor, he'll stumble into the bedroom, and that's all the evidence that I need. But he still refuses to go into the bedroom. So in disgust, David sends the husband back to battle and sends a message to the man's general to put the man out on the front line, the very front line of the battle, and then secretly pull back all of his troops, leaving the one man out on the front line of battle to be massacred by the enemy. Lust, rape, adultery, murder. Yeah. In the vernacular of our sermon series, that is a sheep flat on its back. That's what David is. And out of that mess, David actually wrote another psalm. And that psalm is a cry of a desperate sheep reaching back for its shepherd. The beginning of the psalm, it's Psalm 51, the first couple of verses go, have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion. Blot out my transgressions. Wash away all of my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you and you only, God, have I sinned and done what is evil in your sight. Oh, there are no more gut-wrenching words written in the Bible than those ones by David as he is playing out his own sin and brokenness before God. And it's just a little later on in Psalm 51 that we read these words. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. David was a shepherd. He knew a little bit about being restored. You know, truth, right now, I am personally not unfamiliar with the need to be restored. I've had a couple of times in my life, times of deep darkness and loss. Times when depression just overtook me, and to be honest, I live with some of the after effects of the depth of that depression years ago. I still deal with that at times, and the loneliness that accompanies that when it comes on me again. But I think back about those times of darkness and how I felt like I had nowhere to go. I felt completely lost. I felt like nobody understood. And I was just, other than my immediate family, Wanda and Chris and Corey, I felt totally separated from everybody. Even though my life was still going on, in the darkness of my soul, that was what was happening. Look, there is so much that can be said right now. So much. But let me give you just for today at least, a simple lesson in being restored, in walking upright, and coming back to living in peace and contentment. Here's the deal. You cannot restore yourself. They may be able to help, but nobody else can do this for you. And as a matter of fact, you can't do it. Only the shepherd can restore. And what does a sheep do? A sheep does one thing, and that is listen for the shepherd's voice. That's it. You listen for his words. For me, it's always been about going back to the book, going back to the promises that are written in the Bible, back to the timeless truths that come straight from the shepherd's heart. So as we come to the table of communion today, let's remember that it is also a table of restoration. No doubt. It is at this table that we can actually return to being dependent on the shepherd, being directed by the shepherd, becoming healthy and confident again. It's at the table of restoration that we can experience significance and security and peace and contentment again. It is here at the table of restoration that we can be reconnected to others, brought back into relationships, because our forgiveness has been secured on the cross. Maybe the greatest thing of all is that our joy, the joy of our salvation, can return to our hearts. Whoa. So remember that as you take the bread and the juice of the Lord's Supper at this moment and at this table of restoration. Until next time, see ya.
Create in me a clean heart, oh God, Spirit within me. Create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, O Lord, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and renew a right spirit within me.
Create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me. Create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew a right spirit within me.
Cast me not away from thy presence, O Lord, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and renew